On this week's GTA 5 o'clock, the Mount Chiliad mystery aftermath. What happened since last week's show? Your questions answered, plus more evidence relating to the mystery is uncovered. It's all here on this week's GTA 5 o'clock. Hello and welcome to this week's GTA 5 o'clock. I'm your host James Jarvis, and joining me this week is co-host Mr. Trophy Ian Wilson.
Hello.
Hello, welcome back.
Thank you.
We're still here. A lot of people got angry last week.
They did, yeah.
And we are here to explain a little bit more about what we stated and react to a lot of the reactions from last week. So brief recap, what happened last week? Well, we got hold of some information about a all interiors mod for the PC version, went and had a look at it. All of the interiors in there are then opened up in the game for you to go and explore around. And we then said that this contributed towards there being nothing behind the Mount Chiliad mural.
Yes.
Basically. Now, the title of the video was like the Mount Chiliad mystery is over, which I would still say is probably true right now. There's not a lot to go on to say that there's still things to be found in the game. We'll cover more of that a bit later on. Yeah. But there were loads of questions surrounding it, like, why didn't we explain the rest of the mural? Well, we've been doing this show for quite a long time now. I think over the time that we've covered quite a lot of the different aspects of the mural. Yeah. Ian, you've done a lot of guides and
indeed,
and Easter egg hunts.
Yeah.
Not found anything about the mural, but have explained some of the things behind it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, over the course of the series, we've done a number of shows. We've done some like fact and fiction stuff, exploring it, and various other things, like looking into it in the past. So we kind of didn't feel we needed to go over all of that again.
No.
For that episode.
But obviously there are people coming into this who wouldn't have seen those other things. Yeah. So just for them, we have explored the other options. And I totally agree that most of this whole thing is like, it's about the journey. Like it's sort of moved away from finding the jetpack or anything anyway, because there was quite a lot of evidence pointing towards that there wasn't a jetpack model in the game. But it's about the journey and the discovery, and not really about finding anything at the end. It's just about how you get to that stage.
Yeah.
But then you have to look at the mural and go, well,
why is it there?
Why is it there? What does it mean? There were loads of theories out there about what it means. People have been lining up the mountains with the Great Pyramids of Giza.
Wow.
And going, look, they look almost the same.
That's pretty special, isn't it? Yeah.
There are some pretty out there theories. But then there are some also very plausible explanations for it. I think in the comments last week, some Oli83 said, what if the spaceship symbolizes the spaceship?
Yeah.
The jetpack symbolizes that you need to fly. The cracked egg symbolizes Easter eggs are solved. And the whole image says what people have already done.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very plausible explanation for it. Added to the fact that there's also lightning bolts around the mountain, giving you extra clues that it needs to be in the middle of a storm.
Weather, yeah.
There are other glyphs on the side of the mountain we know which point towards like it being 3 a.m. and giving you all the hints. Come back when your story is complete. Put all those things together and like a UFO appears. Now, if the UFO means anything or not, like if there's another stage to that, we will be able to cover a bit later on in the show as well. Because at the moment it appears that no one has figured out what that is, if there is something there.
Yeah.
And it's looking more likely that there isn't anything there. So that's probably going to make everyone a little bit more upset. Now, like, I really want there to be something as much as everybody else.
Yeah,
like, we've put like 2 years of our time since the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions came out into finding mysteries and going on the alien hunt and trying to find the full moon party, finding the hidden grave. There's like so much stuff that we've looked into. Some of it is very real, credible things, like the things that actually happen that you can do and go and investigate.
Yeah.
This one though, I just still get the sense that maybe we've solved it, and that's like the end of it. Other people said that there not being an interior doesn't matter, and why don't you use like a no clipping mod to go in behind the thing That's something that we have looked at. The argument there is that if there was a trigger point somewhere in the game, that using the no clipping mod would bypass that function, so it wouldn't load in an interior like it would if you went to like Chiliad. You can clip through that wall, but it won't load it in unless you're on the specific mission or you've done the certain requirements. So looking at the all interiors mod bypasses that section, because you're like, if the interior isn't in the game, then you're not going to be able to clip into it. So why would people keep hunting? Like we said, as another thing that sort of got a bit confused of us going, it's over, but keep hunting for things. It's because things can still be patched in.
Yeah.
There's DLC to come. We know that. A significant single-player story DLC. Mm-hmm. There's loads of add-ons coming to GTA Online, which Rockstar mentioned recently. There's going to be some new toys to play with.
Good. Excellent.
Now, you can interpret toys however you want, but they could patch in something like new vehicles.
Yeah. Well, we've seen it with a heist update. There's a lot of new vehicles and things for that.
Yeah. One of them can be something that allows you to fly around.
Yeah.
Possibly, they can do whatever they want. Really, they can put that stuff in. And talking of new DLC, it seems like the new rumours on the internet is that this new DLC is going to be set around a city called Clifford.
Right.
And possibly contain a new heist, one of which being focused around the casino. Now, whether that's the casino that's already in the game or a casino that is based elsewhere in this new city, if it exists, we will yet to see.
The casino comes up a lot in these discussions, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's another thing that we really want to be real.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's such a big thing to have unutilised in the map that you think surely at some point it's going to come into play.
And there's a load of new missions in it as well,
including
allegedly assassination missions and things like that. Now, to back this up, Rockstar have posted on the Newswire a couple of weeks ago in like a Q&A section they did. A lot of people were saying, what are we going to spend the money from heists on? What's next for GTA Online? Will there be more heists added in future updates? And Rockstar responded by saying, beyond the many new vehicles and items that arrived to GTA Online as part of heists, we are also working on another update coming soon that will feature some very cool new toys for you to enjoy and flaunt on your with your ill-gotten gains.
Yeah.
For now, the screenshot above, or the one that's on screen now, provides just a glimpse. It's like a gun and a new car.
Yeah.
And for those asking for more heists, please understand that Grand Theft Auto Online heists were a tremendous undertaking, so it's not the sort of thing where we can easily publish and create additional heists like they do with the jobs.
Yeah.
However, we are working on other cool updates for GTA Online that you can expect over the coming months. So it looks like there's definitely a new pack coming, like the High Life pack or something like that.
Yes, new stuff.
Yeah, that will come down. But back to the Chiliad mystery.
Of course.
Why not? So there were some people that agreed with us, thankfully.
Okay, cool.
Last week. So on Reddit, there's a whole thread about the whole Chiliad mysteries. If you haven't checked it out, go and check it out. Those guys do some great work. There's loads of discussions going on there. A guy called Stealth Pyro said, I have to agree. I'm sort of starting to think that as far as the exits go, X's on the mural go, we've solved it by finding the 5 glyphs. We just don't know for sure what the hell the UFO, egg, and jetpack boxes are even pointing to. Even if they do refer to Michael being abducted, Franklin, a young guy, and Trevor, the flying man, what does it mean? I don't see why each of them would have paths to the lines. Everything's connected together. I thought the possibility that the lines just represent the points in the story where the 3 characters meet. That makes sense. Michael and Trevor already know each other, so their squares are connected from the start. Then where the lines of each character come to a junction, it's where those characters meet or had some sort of event in their relationship.
Yeah.
Going up from the egg, Franklin met Michael, then met Trevor, then had to choose between the two at the very end. And then he goes on to reply to someone else going, imagine if it's as simple as UFO, Easter egg, fly up. But then what are you flying
Explains
up into?
It, yeah.
Yeah, I mean... It's,
well, you fly up to find the Easter egg, find the UFO, technically, I guess, because it's
find
in
some of the
air.
other ones. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I mean... It's difficult. Like, there are loads of Chiliad theories. I love all the Chiliad theories. I love mystery hunting. I love the whole thing. Like, we spent ages doing it. It's just, with more and more evidence coming out, it seems that until there's a new update and other things are added to the game. Like, I mean, Rockstar have been adding things in behind the scenes.
Yeah, like update patches we've seen come through.
Yeah, and there are extra lines of code in there that weren't there from the original that have been slowly, stealthily added in. So it's perfectly plausible that that's definitely, a thing that can happen. There's some stuff that we got some questions later on, which we'll cover that as well.
Yeah.
So in terms of the UFOs then, let's take a look at them. Now, again, a post on Reddit 2 days ago by Paximilian says he's been currently going through the code files of the game and came across a few interesting tidbits that he'd like to share, as well as just indulge on the general knowledge pool for them all. Okay, so he went through the current UFO code in the game to see what it all does and how everything's joined up. Now, this is the Chiliad UFO, the one that spawns at the top once you go there. I think he also looked at the Fort Zancudo UFO as well.
Yeah.
So he says he went through it all, looked at it, and says, I'm sorry, but at least as far as the UFO code files go, this is a dead end. The UFO doesn't do anything that we don't already know of.
Yeah.
So you can look at it, it will fade in and out of view depending on where you're standing, but it won't do anything. You can't interact with it. Another final point of interest is the object loading function. This is going to get quite technical now, and I'm going to say that I don't understand some of it, but hopefully it will make sense to you guys. So another final point of interest is that the object loading function has another instance of a UFO under case 151. The only difference between the two is that the value in _F81 is set to just UFO instead of UFO-I. I think that this one is the Zancudo UFO, basically saying that I ties the disc-shaped UFO to the Chiliad clues, whereas the Zancudo UFO is unrelated and is just a UFO object that has no ties to anything. So it's just something that appears in the sky. Bear in mind, this is all speculation and deduction, and I'm open to input, but from what I could gather from the digging is there was nothing more to the Chiliad UFO, and it does nothing for us. Great, that's quite that's drawing a line under that. G_5F7C, also known as the -1/999 state flag, is a network connectivity check and has no relevance to the mystery other than to indicate that it has to be done offline. And this is something we covered last week or the week before about there maybe being a new
game state.
A new indicator or new switch that you had to do to make something happen to the UFO. And it looks like that Paximilian has gone in and discovered that it actually just relates to being on or offline.
Yeah.
So next up, there being only 2 loadable UFO objects in the code, object 151 and 152, means 2 things. 1, we haven't missed anything. Unless there's another UFO using the same model as the currently known ones, we found all the UFOs in the game. The sunken UFO and the WTF UFO have no function at all, as they are considered terrain and not objects. The UFO code only has to do with the Chiliad UFO, as evidenced by the conditioning of being present in the main functions, as well as there being no reference to the force field on the Sandy Shores UFO and Zancudo UFOs anywhere in this code. What this means is there might be code pertaining to those elsewhere, but the Chiliad UFO is still just a dead end. I'm sorry if this is disappointing, but that's what I could find, and I wish there was still something that I overlooked. So basically, what he's saying is, if the mural, as we're suggesting, might have already been solved, and it just relates to making the UFO spawn at the top of Chiliad, if there is another step to that, which would then do something with the UFOs, there is nothing to do with that Chiliad UFO that we aren't already doing.
Yeah.
There's no extra steps that can make it do anything. Someone did respond to him saying, I'm a bit confused. Does this just rule out the Chiliad UFO and the -1 to 999 variable? I know we originally thought that -1 to 999 was the last trigger we needed to meet to load the secret interior. Does this mean it doesn't exist? Or do we not just know what the last code trigger is that we need to load this secret interior, if the secret interior still exists, by the way, which we don't think it does. Sorry if this question makes no sense. Paximilian comes back and says, I think this does rule it out. To my understanding, the function of the script uses what is called an internal function. That means that unlike the global functions we see in the code, such as player ID, for example, instead of calling the function, it literally takes the code and pastes it into the calling location. What this effectively means is the function we've earlier believed to have code pertaining to loading the interior of the UFO script actually just has it because it supports loading every kind of model asset and not just the UFO. It's the same function that gets called, for example, when using the IPL loading tool to load interior scenes like Lester's house. And you can find videos of that. We've covered it on the show before.
Yeah.
Either way, -1/999 appears in far too many story scripts to hold any possibility of being relevant to this mystery, even if it doesn't have anything to do with network connectivity.
Yeah. So I think when it was originally discovered as part of this sort of UFO investigating, obviously people look to that -1 or 999 flagging as potentially something to trigger. But yeah, it sounds like that has since been found in lots of other areas of the code as well, which kind of suggests obviously there's not actually anything specifically to do with the UFO side of things.
Yeah, we thought it might be like having to wear a specific item of clothing or to get... People were suggesting like it's a number of ammo that you needed in a certain gun and things like that. But yeah, now it looks like it appears in too much of the code elsewhere in the game.
Yeah, it's not like a unique reference or anything.
So hopefully that's cleared that up, and we've managed to sort of lay to rest some of the things that you guys thought that we were just maybe like jumping on the bandwagon. I mean, we've been doing this for ages. We don't put things out there just to get hits. Like we've worked on GamesRadar and CVG before it shut for ages. Like that's our job is doing other things. It's not just GTA related. We're just here to, try and bring the community together about focusing on things and hopefully give you guys information and entertain you. So there were a couple of questions last week. You'd be surprised to hear.
Yeah, fair enough.
So Ben Hayward said, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that an interior is unloaded until such a point that number of requirements have been met. Failing that, who's to say that none of this mystery-related content is even locally stored? What if it takes a series of events to trigger, in effect, a DLC download, which then stores the content locally? Now, the second part of that is entirely a possibility. I think someone later on... Pharrell388 says, Rockstar gave us a new mission in the PS4 Xbox One version that demonstrates that things like the in-game camera phone can trigger events and markers without the game notifying you. There's an increasing evidence that we do need to trigger the interior containing the jetpack. Well, I mean, that bit's a bit thing. But he's right. He's the PS4 and the Xbox One version in the Murder Mystery Hunt.
I was going to say, I assume that's what they're referring to.
Yeah. Now, that did sort of... I mean, you saw it load to when you knew that it did something, like it saved.
You got, like, the little spinning save in the corner.
But there was no, like, giant reveal of, hey, you've done this thing right. You just had to sort of work it out.
Yeah.
So those two things sort of go together, and yes, that is entirely possible that it's waiting for something in the game to all be triggered, and then it can go off and get a thing. Now... Paximilian, also on Reddit, from the same post, says it's not impossible that a trigger exists and downloads and injects new code into an existing script. So from looking at the code, that is not an impossible thing to do.
Yeah.
It could happen. It's not outside the realms of possibility.
No,
so
exactly.
I am fully on board with that being an idea. That is totally cool. So, yeah, let us know what you think about all of that in the comments. Get in touch on Twitter at GTA Video Clock or on Facebook at facebook.com/GTA Video Clock. And I hope that has cleared a lot of things up for you. Finally, this week before we go, there was a Take-Two investor call, I think, this week.
Yeah.
And it seems that Take-Two's boss said in the call that they have... in the transcript of the earnings call, he says he hasn't discussed any story-based downloadable content and doesn't seem to remember it ever being mentioned or anything like that.
Yeah.
Now, some people have been reporting on that today. Even our GamesRadar site reported on it, but there's actually an update that they have put in their story as well. Take-Two has issued the following statement saying that Stratus misspoke during today's call, as over a year ago Rockstar Games had said that they're exploring story mode content for Grand Theft Auto 5. However, no further information has been released. As always, we leave it to Rockstar Games to share information about their games when they're ready. So basically, he just made a little mistake.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what you've got to remember from all that is obviously he is Take-Two's boss on an investor call. He doesn't work for Rockstar or Rockstar Games. He's not involved in actually making GTA in any way, really. So it's entirely possible and feasible that he literally didn't know anything about it or had forgotten about it because it's not something that he's involved with.
Exactly, yeah. So don't read anything into that. The GTA story mode stuff, DLC is still coming.
Yeah.
Rockstar will let you know when it's coming, as and when they see fit.
Indeed.
And it may or may not contain more mysteries, but we will see. So hopefully you've enjoyed this week's show a bit more than last week's. So let us know if you did in the comments below, and we'll see you next week at 5 p.m. BST.